Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
True Crime Edition.
I feel like I need to add some variety to my inflection each time.
Okay. So, before we get started.
I forgot. I don't have it pulled up. Hold on.
I can read the housekeeping.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it yet, our first ever bonus episode.
Spooky.
I am gonna be unwell the entire time. I just flicked a spider out of my hair, so this is gonna be the most paranoid version of myself. There's like a little red gnat or something flying in front of my face.
A red
it's the
one?
Same color as the spider. Anyway, if you haven't seen it already, our first ever bonus episode is up only on YouTube. In it, we talk about the arrests of Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt. It is only on YouTube, so if you are someone who listens instead of watches, we would encourage you to go watch it. It's interesting. There's a lot of information and extra video snippets in there.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoy it. Also, we will not be recording a pop-off episode to release next Tuesday. So this week will be normal, but then we are going out of town together. So we won't be able to record that episode. But we will be recording the first part of our Halloween series, and it will be out next Friday, October 6th. So no episode coming Tuesday, but our first Cecil Hotel story will be Friday, and then we'll have one for the next 4 Fridays for Halloween. And if you like that series, or you're interested in that series, and you want to wear merchandise that fits the theme of you listening to that series, we have Halloween and Cecil Hotel merch on our website that will come in pretty soon. I ordered 2 merch items from our website. One I ordered this past weekend, and one I ordered the weekend before, and I got them both in today. So, should get to you pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, pause. This freaked me the fuck out. It's freaking Lisa Rinna reflected in there from our screen. No, thank you. The haunting of Lisa Rinna.
Little tiny Lisa Rinna.
Okay. Proceed.
I have one very brief real-time true crime. Purely speculative. I'm not saying that anyone did anything. But
Allegedly,
Russell Brand has been accused of sexual assault and rape by 4 different women, one of whom was 16 at the time. It is pointed out that this was in England, where 16 is the age of consent. So that, in and of itself, is not illegal, but the fact that it was not consensual, allegedly, is what is the issue.
4 different times, allegedly.
Right. He has posted a video to social media claiming that these allegations are false. So I'm not gonna, theorize or get into, details, but just putting it out there. Allegedly. And with that...
Can I add something else alleged? From the movie, with Kristen Bell? Is that her name?
Freaking Sarah Marshall.
Yeah. I heard that she said when she got to the set, to him, do not try anything with me. Do not come near me. Allegedly.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie confirmed.
Yeah.
Not allegedly. Alright. So we're gonna get started. I wasn't going to give a content warning because this one's pretty, like, straightforward with what you would expect for a true crime case, but I will give one for brief mentions of sexual assault. Very brief. So, that, I will get started.
Okay.
At 8:10 p.m. on Saturday, December 6th, 2014, deputies in Courtland, Mississippi were responding to a call of a car on fire on the side of Herron Road. As they were investigating the burning wreckage, one deputy looked up to see what he originally thought was a monster coming out of the trees nearby. He told the others, and they too saw something unlike they had ever seen, but it wasn't a monster. Obviously.
I was gonna say.
This monster's not real. But they thought for a second. What they had actually seen was a young woman coming out of the trees, arms outstretched, mostly naked, and charred black by burns over 93% of her body.
Yikes.
So, let me tell you a little bit about her. Jessica Lane Chambers was born on February 2nd, 1995, in Clarksdale, Mississippi, to Ben and Lisa Chambers. She had 4 brothers, Christopher, Ben Jr., Brandon, and Stephen, and 3 sisters, Amanda, Ashley, and Annabelle. Her parents divorced when she was 3 years old, but were committed to maintaining a strong relationship and co-parenting the best they could. At the time this story takes place, her parents actually lived on the same street, just a couple doors down from one another. So they were like friends, they were neighbors.
Nice.
It was good vibes.
Yeah.
In 2014, Jessica Chambers was 19 years old and had graduated from South Panola High School and was now learning at Gateway Christian School, which is a homeschooling and extension program.
Okay.
According to an online biography, Jessica loved Johnny Depp and Jennifer Aniston. Her favorite place was Miami. She loved the color pink, shopping, traveling, and seafood. She was known to be very smart, charming, caring, and popular. She was a cheerleader at her high school. Her grandmother called her a, quote, a beaming pixie atop her pyramid at football games.
Cute.
It was like the cutest way anyone's ever described another person.
Mm-hmm.
She had a great sense of fashion, and she had aspirations of becoming a nurse later in life. She was from a small town where everyone knew everyone else. However, on the evening, sheriff's deputies responded to the calls about a car engulfed in flames and burned to the point it was white. They were unable to recognize it as Jessica's normally black car, and they were unable to recognize Jessica when she emerged from the nearby woods.
How do you get it to the point of white, but it's not just like fucking disintegrated?
I know.
That's like
the pictures
ash.
of it are, yeah, it's interesting. When she emerged from the woods, Jessica was wearing only her underwear. She was barely breathing, and she was walking slowly. When she finally got to the deputies, she whispered, "Help me, help me, help me. He set me on fire." First responders asked her over and over again who set her on fire. Some of them claim they didn't hear her respond to the question at all. Others claim they heard her say either Eric or Derek. They did also note that her lips and tongue were severely burnt, so it's possible that they completely misheard her.
Yeah.
Later, some of them speculated that she was trying to say a wreck, like a car wreck.
Yeah.
And it just sounded like Eric. So deputies called in the situation, and Jessica was airlifted to Regional 1 Health Center Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. The men and women, sorry, there was also a woman, at least. The men and women who were on the scene and discovered Jessica exiting the trees recall how traumatizing it was to see her, looking almost like a television zombie. They said that the entire situation felt like a scene from The Walking Dead.
Jeez.
Just like based on like the coloration of her skin, how she was walking. When they realized who she was, one deputy said he immediately wanted to wrap a blanket around her and protect her because he knew her. Aww. He was like, in his eyes, he was like, she's a little girl. Like, she's 19, she just graduated high school, and like, and she's walking out of the woods like almost completely naked and severely injured.
Yeah.
So he like wanted to protect her, but also like her dignity, and it was just like very traumatizing for them because they knew her, because they knew everyone.
Yeah.
And it was common to like I said, it was a small town where everyone knew everyone, but specifically Jessica knew everyone. She was very well loved and well known. So once she had a blanket on her shoulders, she collapsed until they were able to bring her to the hospital. She had deep thermal burns, which are burns that occur at high temperatures and burn down to the tissue.
I just cannot believe she was walking.
I know. It's so crazy. They were also able to determine that a flammable liquid had been poured all over her body, which was evident from the splash-like pattern of her burns. Mm. Like, it was, like, in, like, lines, like, kind of looked like someone had, like, splashed it on her. It was later determined that the scraps of her clothes recovered from the car tested positive for traces of gasoline.
So do they think she was lit on fire in the car? Or the two were lit on fire separate? Yes, they think
she was lit on fire with the car.
Okay.
And then walked out of the car. Most reports, I said some, but honestly most of them, say that the gasoline was also poured down her throat and up her nose. Mm-hmm. But according to a police press conference, this was not true. They said, like, we've heard it. That is not what happened. It was just splashed on her. Despite the fact that she was likely only ablaze for 3 to 5 minutes, due to the severity of her burns, the pain she was in, and the infection that would set in as a result, the nurses and doctors on Jessica's team knew that the best they could do at that point was make her as comfortable as possible. They said, like, when somebody has deep thermal burns and on the percentages of her body that they had it, there's, like, not anything you can do to fix it.
Yeah.
As Jessica was being rushed to the hospital, police were notifying her parents of what had happened to her. They called her dad to let him know what had happened, and Jessica's stepmother, Debbie, immediately ran down the street to her mother's house and screamed to her that someone had set Jessica on fire and that they needed to go. Which, like, what? How do you respond? Like, what does your brain go through when somebody says someone set your child on fire?
And it's like, I feel, like, obviously it's, like, terrifying, but I feel like things happen all the time where, like, someone's hair catches on fire, or, like, so, like, I feel like you could start to think, like, oh, someone, it's, like, she's fine, like, she's probably hurt, but, like, someone just, like, accidentally caught her on fire, like, just an accident, and she, like, you don't think someone, like, literally drenched her in accelerant and put her on fire.
Right. Intentionally put her on fire. Yeah, when I went through sorority recruitment, they told us that they told us that we had to use battery operated candles because the year before a girl had backed into a candle and got set on fire in the middle of recruitment. So
I thought we were about to get a really fun hazing story.
No. Like what goes through your mind can't possibly be someone doused my child in gasoline.
Right, it's like ambiguous. It's ambiguous enough, like, if someone's like, your kid was shot, you're, like, immediately like, alive or dead. Someone caught your kid on fire is like, oh no, how hurt is she?
Right, like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, on purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah. initially her mother was in disbelief, not just because, like, what the fuck, but she had just spoken to Jessica on the phone about an hour before Debbie gave her the news.
Mm.
So the three of them rushed to the hospital to be with Jessica. When her mom went into the room, she held Jessica's hand and told her that if she was in too much pain, she could let go and that she would make sure she got justice for her. I know. Then at 2:37 a.m., Jessica passed away in the hospital from her injuries.
I almost just... It's not worse. Like, it's not... At least people had a chance to say goodbye. But it just feels so much more rotten. It's like, if you find someone dead, it's like, fuck, like, if we had been here sooner, like, they'd be alive. If we could have stopped this, they'd be alive. But it's like, you did find her in time. You did get her to the hospital, and there is just nothing. Like, you're just helpless. Yeah. Staff, family, everyone.
Yeah. The same thing happened in the Matthew Shepard case, and it always, like, every time I hear that, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, like, so good for her mom, and I'm sure her mom is grateful that she had that moment.
Yeah.
To, like, say goodbye. I just... For, like, law enforcement and, like, for the purpose of telling the story, it's like, you start with hope. She did basically survive, you know? Yeah. Like, she survived the incident. She just didn't survive her injuries, and, like, that's horrendous.
Yeah. So, later that afternoon, a man was walking about an eighth of a mile from where Jessica's 2005 Kia Rio had been found when he saw her keys lying on the ground. The keys were turned in to police and were tested for DNA. They also got a search warrant for Jessica's cell phone, but were only able to see the records for the 24 hours before Jessica's murder. I think there was, like, an issue because, like, Jessica couldn't technically consent to her phone records. Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay. I'm sure she would like you to find out who did it, though.
Yeah.
But whatever. Phone records were still very useful. They led police to one phone number that wasn't saved in Jessica's phone, but they were able to determine that it belonged to 27-year-old Quentin Tellis. So I'm going to read you the conversations between Jessica and Quentin and the timeline of their events the day Jessica was killed, because that's who she was with most of the day, and, like, just things that police found suspicious. Mm-hmm. So, it is a very detailed timeline.
Okay.
Bear with me.
I love this.
So, remember, she was found December 6th, okay?
I'm ready.
On December 2nd,
taking notes.
Quentin took Jessica to the emergency room for some medicine.
Hold on. Do we have an established relationship with these people? Why is he the person taking her to...
At the time that Jessica was killed, she had known Quentin for 2 weeks. They were friends.
Do you have some background on Jessica's patterns of behavior? Is this normal for her? To have someone she's known for a week take her to the hospital?
I think she was very friendly.
Okay.
And, like, made friends easily.
Okay.
I also think when I say that they had been friends for 2 weeks, based on what had been happening that day, I think they were, like, hanging out, like, consistently.
Okay.
For 2 weeks. And so maybe that's just who was with her, you know?
Okay.
I think about the boys that we were friends with in high school, and, like, would I have trusted them to go with me to the hospital to get medicine at the time?
Yeah. But they were
I don't think I would have thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, I wasn't hanging out with people 7 to 8 years older than me, though.
Yeah.
But whatever.
She did. That is something she did do. A lot of
and, like, no shame for her. I just wanted to know, like, is this guy, like, weaseling his way into her life, or is this, like, something she would do? I know it's, like, a small town, too. So, okay. Got it. I
think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So, He took her to the emergency room to get medicine. Again, I don't know, like, what medicine, like, if it was something that she just needed, like, a refill of and couldn't get it at the pharmacy. She went to the emergency room to get it, or if she went to the emergency room.
Because it was an
and
emergency?
then they were like, oh, you need this medicine? I don't know. On the 3rd, Quentin texts Jessica, quote, I'm horny. And Jessica replies, quote, oh, Lord.
That means no, and then, thank you.
Yeah. That is exactly, I think, how I would have responded when I was 19.
Yeah.
She then tells him that since his mother and sister are home and would, quote, freak out, she would not be coming over. On the 4th, he again texts, quote, I'm horny, and Jessica again replies, quote, oh, Lord.
Girl. I get it, but I want her to just say, stop.
Yeah, leave me the fuck alone. On the 5th, Jessica texts Quentin and asks for money for food. He again asks her for sex, and she says that she only needs $6. She's like, no, I'm not gonna have sex with you. I just need $6. That's not worth it.
Who is she? Is she living at home at this time?
Yes.
Okay, so she just doesn't want to ask her parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, she had a job, so, like, maybe that's why she didn't want to ask her parents.
Yeah.
Maybe she's supposed to have money. I don't know. A few minutes later, surveillance at the M&M gas station shows Quentin walking across the street towards Jessica's car, which is also seen on the surveillance video, and then walking back to his driveway. This gas station is going to be a very big part of the story.
So does he live right across from the gas station?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
It's a typical, like, hangout spot amongst the teenagers, and Quentin lives directly across the street from it, meaning his house was in view of their surveillance cameras.
Perfect.
At 9:01 a.m. on the 6th, Jessica sends a text to someone saying she just woke up. So this is the day of her being set on fire.
Okay.
At 10:04 a.m., Jessica calls Quentin. The call lasts only 69 seconds. At 10:09 a.m., Quentin texts Jessica saying, quote, I'm ready. Then between 10:15 and 10:47 a.m., they meet up and just kind of drive around town.
Okay.
At 10:18 a.m., Jessica calls her best friend Hsiao.
While she's with him?
Yes.
Okay.
This is, like, right after they started driving around. She calls Hsiao. At 10:33 a.m., Jessica calls Hsiao again, and she and Quentin head to pick Hsiao up.
Okay.
At 10:47 a.m., Quentin calls his sister, and 2 minutes later, Jessica drops him back off at the M&M before leaving with Hsiao.
At what time?
10:47.
Okay.
At 11:05 a.m., Quentin texts Jessica, quote, I need you. She responds, quote, what you need. And he says, quote, some lovin'. And Jessica says, quote, oh, Lord, can't. I love her consistency.
Boy, yeah. I was about to say, like, I always tell Billy in this weird language I speak in, like, at least it all has a pattern that you can figure out. Like, dude, she's telling you the same thing.
Yeah,
come on now.
At 2:21 p.m., Jessica takes a nap, according to her mother.
Mary can relate.
At 4... Somebody asked me today, they were in my room for a short amount of time, and said, you must drink, like, a whole bottle of wine when you get home from school. And I said, no, I just take a nap.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question that obviously I don't know that we have the answer to because we don't have Jessica, but do we ever get confirmation, like, do they have a sexual relationship? Like, has she ever had sex with him, or he just won't stop asking?
He says They have.
Okay.
Police believe that is true.
Okay.
Based on some things they found. But I don't think anyone in Jessica's life really confirms that.
Okay.
But also, she has a boyfriend at this time, and he has a fiance. So I don't know that anyone else in Jessica's life would have known.
Yeah.
If that's true.
I don't know.
If she would be telling people.
Maybe I'm wrong because it's only a couple conversations, but, like, that's just, like, not how I would respond to someone who I did have sex with sometimes, but who I just wasn't going to have sex with right then. I wouldn't say, oh, Lord. So I feel like you would just say, like, I'm busy, maybe later.
The belief is that they had sex once.
Okay.
Not that they, like, routinely had sex.
Okay.
Which I think makes it a little more sense, like, to, like, kind of not want to, like, be like, no.
Right. It's just like, oh, God, no. This again.
Yeah, you're so silly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at 4:23 p.m., Quentin calls Jessica and wakes her up. At 4:29 p.m., Jessica tries calling Keisha, but her phone is out of minutes, so she is unable to answer.
Okay.
At 4:36 p.m., Jessica texts Quentin and tells him she'll go eat with him if he pays, and then she tries to call Keisha again. At 4:59 p.m., Jessica and Quentin talk on the phone for 33 seconds.
Do you feel like that's them actually talking? Or is that, like...
Because they just last a few seconds?
Yeah, like, would that be, like, a voicemail? Would that, like,
so one of them called the other and the other one picked up. I know that because...
So it's probably just, like... Okay, so it's probably just, like, I'm outside. Okay, coming down. Or whatever.
Yeah, like... There are other parts where they specify that one of them didn't answer. Okay. That one of them left a voicemail. Also, she makes a call to her mom later that also only lasts a few seconds.
Okay. Got it.
At 5:20 p.m., Quentin calls Jessica, and she doesn't answer, but then calls him right back. At 5:34 p.m., Quentin calls Jessica again to ask her to come pick him up. At 6:04 p.m., Jessica's cell phone pinged off of a tower in Batesville, Mississippi, and Quentin claims the two were eating dinner at Taco Bell during this time. Also during this time, Jessica is still attempting to call Keisha.
Is the Taco Bell allegedly in Batesville?
Yes.
Okay.
My first thought was, is there not a Taco Bell closer?
Yeah, how far is Batesville?
I think, so I know they're about 60 miles from Memphis. And I believe they're a little closer to Batesville.
Okay.
At 6:17 p.m., they leave Taco Bell and head back toward Courtland, and Jessica continues to try calling Keisha. At 6:30 p.m., Jessica and Quentin arrive at Quentin's house. At 6:41 p.m., Jessica tries calling Keisha again. I would love to know why she needed to get a hold of Keisha so badly.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, if this is someone they're all hanging out with together, like they hung out earlier, and maybe Jessica is just a persistent girly. She just really wants Keisha to come hang out. But, yeah, it's not feeling that way.
And it makes me wonder if it's, like, a little bit of both. Like, if she's a little bit uncomfortable and thinks, like, if Keisha comes, I'll be more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's probably telling him, like, I just really wanted to hang out, or I'm worried about her, or whatever, but she's like...
Oh, she doesn't answer her call. What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah. At 6:48 p.m., Jessica calls her mother. The call lasts 76 seconds. Jessica's mom says that the call was odd because there was no background noise, which normally there would be. She said, like, anytime her and Jessica talked on the phone, pretty much there was, like, music in the background or, like, people talking in the background. And so she found it odd, and she said she wondered if Jessica was with someone, but, like, with someone, like, that she didn't want her mom to know about. Or that didn't want to be, like, heard on the phone or something. Like, not, like, a group of people, like, just hanging out and having fun. Like, she's with one person.
Okay.
At 7:30 p.m., Jessica's phone appears to be traveling west before arriving at Herron Road, which is where she and her car were later found burned.
Did her mom say what they talked about?
I think she just, like, was calling to check in with her.
Okay. And she didn't think, like, she sounded weird?
So when she first said the call was odd, I thought that's what she was going to say. But then she just talked about, like, the background noise.
Okay.
At 7:42 p.m., Quentin calls Jessica and leaves a voicemail, then texts her saying, quote, "Bae, my friend is coming over tonight. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night. Sweet dreams." Keep in mind, she last saw him at 6:30, which is about an hour ago.
Wait, where's she doing now?
Her car is on the road where she was found burned.
Yes, but I'm saying, like, she actually, like, when did she actually leave him?
Yeah, she drove away from his house at 6:30.
Okay. So when she's traveling west.
Sorry. She drove away from his house at 7:30.
Yeah.
So she actually saw him 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And he's sending her this text, which also is very different from every other text he has sent her.
This is, like, not his bae, not his sweetheart.
Right.
Yeah.
Every other text has been like, "I'm horny. I'm ready." Like, very short. And this one's like, "Bae, my friend is coming over tonight. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night. Sweet dreams." Like, it's lengthier.
Yeah.
But then I also, like, saw some people saying, like, do you call people bae after sleeping with them once and then them turning you down several times?
Yeah. No.
When you have a fiance?
Yeah.
Also, he later tells the police that the friend that he's referring to is his fiance.
And Jessica, like, would know this, right? That he has a fiance?
I don't know if they were engaged at the time. I think it was his girlfriend at the time, but I do think she knows.
Okay.
His girlfriend lives in Louisiana.
Okay.
Anyway, at 8:04 p.m., Jessica's phone shut off due to the heat from her car. And at 8:07 p.m., the 911 call about Jessica's car is placed, and 2 minutes later, investigators arrive at the scene.
Okay.
That's the whole timeline.
Very
based
short
on the cell phone.
time frame. That is a very
Yes.
short time frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. On December 13th.
Happy
I'm not
birthday,
gonna lie,
Taylor
I
Swift.
Just Taylor Swift?
Yeah. For privacy purposes. Happy birthday, Taylor Swift.
I stared at this date for a very long time, and I was like, what happens on that day? What is that? I was like, I know that date for some reason.
I happen to know someone who was born on that day.
And it's Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
On December 13th, a public funeral was held at the Wells Funeral Home in Batesville, Mississippi. I do think Batesville is, like, the next largest town they have. When preparing for the funeral and candlelight vigil, Jessica's father said, quote, "Jessica was loved. She had so many friends. She was just a sweet 19-year-old child. She would make so many funny faces you would have to laugh. She would always say, 'We can be sad some other day, but be happy today.' Everybody knows everybody. That is why it is hard to believe something like this could happen. It is unbelievable." End quote.
10.
The rumors at the time were that Although Jessica graduated with all A's and B's from high school and was working a steady job at Goodies, she was beginning to involve herself with the wrong crowd. Her ex-boyfriend said in an interview, quote, "I think she was making friends with the wrong people, with drug dealers. Still, she did nothing that was bad enough to get herself burnt alive." End quote.
Yeah.
That's true.
That would probably be true, no matter what.
Yeah. Jessica's father worked as a mechanic for the county sheriff's office, and she expressed to him that her friends had been calling her a snitch because of his connection to the police. He had started this job after being incarcerated for manufacturing meth, and while he was incarcerated, he helped with mechanic work in the prison. So once he was released, they trusted him to continue working there. So he did work there, but he also had like a really good relationship with them because he had built that relationship up, and they trusted him enough to bring him on when he was released from prison.
Mm-hmm.
So her friends did not like that. Based on this information, police questioned all of Jessica's ex-boyfriends, several convicted drug dealers, and 468 Erics, Jerics, and Derricks. Allegedly, all of the Erics, Jerics, and Derricks that were interviewed were black, and none of them knew Jessica.
Because they were black?
No,
yeah.
My husband was like, okay, but like maybe they had a reason to believe it was those Erics, Derricks, and Jerics, and I was like, maybe, but none of them knew her, so they wouldn't have been any more connected to her than anyone else. And I cannot believe that there were 468 black men with those names and not a single white one.
Not a single white Eric. Come on now. y'all out here lying.
Okay. So interesting. Quentin Telles actually suggested that police talk to a man named Derek Holmes that he said knew Jessica.
Had they already told him that they thought she said Derek?
I think that was put into the news very early on.
Great.
But Derek had a pretty solid alibi. You are not ready for it.
Oh.
According to his mom, his brothers, and his neighbors, he was home all night, as he always is, rubbing his mother's feet.
Someone needs to get him out.
Yes, he said, "My mother is diabetic. I rub her feet every night."
For the entire night? For the entire unaccounted for time? And then I go to bed.
It's only 5 minutes.
Well, but you would have to get yourself there, too. But then he goes to bed at 8:09?
Yep.
Nice.
They also looked into Jessica's most recent boyfriend, 28-year-old Travis Sanford. Travis was in prison at the time Jessica was murdered, but a rumor had begun circulating that he put a hit out on Jessica for being unfaithful while he was incarcerated. However, police interviewed him and were able to rule him out.
Girl.
I don't remember exactly why they ruled him out. They just said that he was, like, very torn up about her death.
Okay.
Police believed that this was a personal attack against Jessica, and 14 months after her death, they believed they had found who had done it.
Okay.
Police learned that Quentin Telles had only known Jessica for 2 weeks, but that he was likely the last person to see her alive, other than the people that were helping her.
The hospital staff.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Using Jessica's phone records, police were able to see that both her phone and Quentin's pinged off of a tower in Batesville after 6 p.m. Police went to talk to him again and found him in Monroe, Louisiana, in prison on unrelated fraud charges.
Dang, dude. Already?
Yeah. They sat down to interview him and laid out all of the circumstantial evidence they had gathered, and Quentin claims he didn't go to Batesville that evening. The police explain, okay, maybe you didn't go to Batesville that evening, but your phone went to Batesville.
So did this girl steal your phone?
And then he changed his story. And now he says that this is when he took Jessica to Taco Bell. And then he says, after they were done eating Taco Bell and Jessica had left, he went out to purchase a green dot card for his girlfriend.
A who to what?
A green dot card is a cash card.
Oh, okay.
And his girlfriend had asked him to get her one so that she could come visit him.
Yeah, she probably didn't mean on your way back from your date with someone else, but yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. He swore on his mom's life, though, that he didn't have anything to do with what had happened to Jessica. Quentin also claimed that they were with a friend named Big Mike. So police, when they went to Taco Bell. So police interviewed him, and he said that he was not with them because he was in Nashville at a Tennessee Titans game.
If only his name was Big Eric.
I know. After interviewing Quentin a second time, this is when he tells them that he and Jessica had sex and smoked marijuana in Jessica's car behind his house so that his mother wouldn't see them.
That night?
I've seen a few different things. I've seen that they had sex before, and that on that night they were just in the same place, like hanging out in her car behind his house, but they didn't have sex that night. I've also seen that that's what they were doing that night. I believe the theory is that they had sex before in her car behind his house. Mm-hmm. And on that night, they were just sitting in the car behind his house, just hanging out.
But is it clear, like, what he meant? Like, did he mean that it was that night?
I don't think he did.
Okay.
Jessica's phone pinged nearby at the time that Quentin said they were in the car, so it is likely that she was at least in the area. He also told them that, and this is what makes me wonder if he did mean that night, he told them that when they had sex in her car, they had to lean the passenger seat fully back, and that is how the passenger seat was found when her car was discovered.
Mm-hmm. But that could also be because...
So I don't know if they're thinking, like, she just never put it back.
Yeah. Or he sexually assaulted her that night, and so the chair was also back, and so he's trying to explain away why the chair is back.
Possibly. Finally, on February 24th, 2016, Quentin Telles was indicted for the murder of Jessica Chambers. Her family was relieved, but the community of Courtland was divided. Many people speculated that Quentin was taking the fall for something he didn't do, simply because he was a black man with a criminal record.
Taking the fall? He's not, like, opting for this.
Well, I guess he's the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
I wrote that. My bad.
Well, that also may just be the way I think the phrase goes. It might be right.
Many people pointed out that his name was neither Derek nor Eric, and that Quentin doesn't sound anything like either of those names.
And that they weren't in a wreck.
Yeah. I wonder, with the injuries to Jessica's mouth and to the degree to which she was losing consciousness, if she was trying to say either Quentin or Telles, and couldn't form her lips and tongue the way she needed to make the ooh and s sounds.
Mm-hmm.
This is my grammar soapbox. You have to be able to put your tongue a certain way to make certain sounds, and vowel sounds are open mouth sounds, so they're a lot easier to get out. So it is possible. Same with the k sound. Is it open mouth sound? And is an open mouth sound. So I wonder, because they all have the same vowel sounds, if she was trying to say one of those things and just couldn't move her tongue, because O is between your teeth and S
requires your tongue.
Isn't as hard, but it's a closed mouth sound.
Yeah, I also just, like, to me, she could have been trying to say anything, dude. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, she could have been trying to tell them who to call. She could have been trying to, like,
right.
There's just no way that it's just, like, that's not a good source.
I also think it's interesting, though, like, because they all say that she said, help me, help me, help me, he set me on fire.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot that.
And that's a lot to say correctly,
but
then not be able to say a 2-syllable word.
Unless, although we can't, like, know this, but, like, you said she, like, whispered those things. When she tried to answer them who did it, like, was she trying to speak out loud instead of whisper? Although they should have said, like, just whisper, we heard you fine when you were whispering. Yeah. Can you do that again? Yeah. So, I don't know. That is weird.
It's, like, something that is, like, I think it's the biggest, like, question mark in this case.
Yeah.
And during the trial, it was a very big point of contention, especially with first responders having different stories about what was said. Like I said, some of them say she didn't say anything. Some of them say they have no clue what she was saying. And the ones who think she said Derek or Eric are like, there is no doubt in my mind that she said anything else. Like, that is what she said.
It's just, like, hard because witness testimony is shaky on its best day.
Yeah.
You add into it all the other things that she was probably slipping out of consciousness. Her mouth was burnt and swollen, like, and it's just, like, I don't know, I just am not putting too much stake into witness testimony in that case. Plus, I think, like, you have the context clues to decipher help me and he set me on fire.
Right.
Because she's on fire. She's been set on fire and she needs help. But it's like you're working from a blank slate when she's saying someone's name. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. This was the defense's main argument for why Quentin Tellis was innocent, though.
I mean, work with what you got.
Literally, his defense attorney, in both her opening and closing statement, said, Eric and Derek are not on trial today, but they should be, because that's who did it. And I'm like, okay, babe, what the fuck?
Did you find someone with those names that we can go interview?
Yeah, please. The prosecution offered the following theory of what had happened to Jessica. Jessica's best friend Keisha testified that earlier in the week that Jessica was killed, the three of them, Jessica, Quentin, and Keisha, went to an establishment called the Sandbox to drop Quentin off. Keisha claims that Jessica got out of the car to give Quentin a hug, but then it quickly became awkward when he wouldn't let go of her. Keisha said it was just like a weird vibe. She didn't like it.
You know those moments.
Yes.
The worst.
As a best friend, you, like, sense it. This, coupled with the text Quentin had been sending Jessica beginning on December 3rd asking for sex, pointed to a sexual motive. Prosecutors suggested that Quentin was obsessed with Jessica and was getting impatient by her not accepting his advances.
Clearly.
They believe that Jessica...
I feel like that, a fact.
They believe that Jessica drove back to his home and that once the two were in the car together behind his house, he attempted to have sex with Jessica and sexually assaulted her when she declined. Then, when he was confident that she was dead or at least severely injured, he drove to Herron Road to destroy any evidence of what had happened.
Dead
not
how?
knowing that Jessica... I think they believe that whatever this sexual assault that occurred was like violent enough that she was
Unconscious.
injured in the process. Yes.
Okay.
We also get some additional pieces of the timeline during the trial from the M&M gas station's security footage. So I got another timeline for you.
Okay.
This one's more helpful, though. On the 6th at 8:55 a.m., Quentin is seen on the M&M surveillance video getting breakfast from the gas station, wearing a white t-shirt, white shoes, and jeans, as well as a dark-colored do-rag.
Okay.
At 10:08 a.m., Jessica is seen on M&M surveillance making a purchase inside the gas station. At 10:10 a.m., the camera catches Jessica talking to two other people before getting in her car and driving over to Quentin's driveway, and then the two are seen driving south on U.S. Highway 51.
Okay.
At 10:55 a.m., Quentin is seen again at the M&M, this time wearing a red shirt, black shoes, light-colored pants, a plaid coat, and a hat.
Okay. Were you giving me that look about Highway 51?
I was.
Okay, at what time, red shirt?
10:55. 2 hours after white shirt.
Okay.
At 5:08 p.m., Quentin goes back into the M&M and walks around without buying anything, and after 4 minutes, he leaves and is seen walking south.
Do you think he does that? Because it's right across. He's like, I'm just going to socialize.
Yeah.
In here.
Bored
I don't need to
as
buy
hell.
nothing.
At 5:24 p.m., Jessica is seen on the M&M surveillance once again, talking to someone who is out of view of the camera. She then picks up a penny off of the ground.
Okay, cute.
I don't know how they saw that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they saw it was heads up. I was like, what?
No, I don't know how they saw that she picked up a penny.
Yeah, she picked up a something.
She picked up something off the ground.
Yeah, how good is the M&M gas station's cameras?
She heads inside the store and makes a purchase.
With the penny.
My first thought was with her penny. Probably not. And then comes back out and pumps gas into her car. At 5:29 p.m., Jessica calls Quentin again from a phone at the M&M and then drives off in the way Quentin had been seen walking.
Why?
So south.
But why is she using a...
I don't know.
It's 2014. She obviously has a cell phone. Well, you said Keisha was out of minutes. If she uses minutes too, maybe it's like a way to save?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
At 7:10 p.m., a car is seen leaving Quentin's driveway.
Okay.
At 7:26 p.m., a car is seen coming into Quentin's driveway, and they believe that there is a woman inside.
Okay.
Prior to this, Quentin's phone records show that 5 different women were calling and trying to reach him that evening.
Okay.
Including his girlfriend Chiquita, who lived in Monroe, Louisiana.
Poor girl.
She had been trying...
Poor Chiquita.
I know.
She's only one of 5.
I know. She had been trying to call Quentin throughout the day to ask him to send her money so that she could visit him. At 7:52 p.m., a car is seen pulling into Quentin's driveway toward a storage shed where it sat for 1 minute and 42 seconds before leaving. Quentin tells the police that the only thing in this storage shed is a 5-gallon jug of gasoline.
Why did he tell them that?
There's so many things that I'm like, why are you offering that?
But I'm feeling like this isn't lining up with the text, but I'll get... Okay.
At 8 p.m., a car that matched the description of Quentin's sister's SUV is seen on M&M surveillance heading quickly toward Batesville. Quentin had called his girlfriend about 15 minutes prior to this to tell her that he was walking to his sister's house to borrow the car, although his phone records don't match this, and his sister says it wasn't likely for him to do that. She said he had borrowed her car once, ever, and that he would have called to ask her first, and he didn't.
Yeah. I'm so confused. How quickly do you gotta be gone to get there? By 8:04?
Where?
To Batesville?
They weren't in Batesville.
Oh, just towards Batesville.
Yeah.
Okay.
His sister's neighborhood does lead directly to Herron Road.
Okay.
And is the neighborhood where Jessica's keys were later found.
Okay.
Quentin later claimed that it was possible that the car on the surveillance was him driving to get a green dot card for his girlfriend.
In such a hurry?
Yeah. At 8:15 p.m., Quentin heads to the Piggly Wiggly and is then seen on video surveillance at a Fred's buying the cash card for his girlfriend. He then calls her 5 times before leaving at 8:26 p.m.
You gotta know what kind of green dot card she wants? What color?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why you gotta call her that many times?
5 times. Like, I got your fucking green dot card. At 8:57 p.m., Quentin is seen again on the M&M surveillance, this time wearing a white shirt, white shoes, jeans, and a light-colored jacket, which is not what he was wearing last time he was seen at the M&M or on the video surveillance from Fred's.
Okay.
In the video, you can see a man telling what appears to be a dramatic story based on how he's, like, moving his arms. And it is believed that he is explaining what has happened to Jessica's car.
Why would he be doing that?
Again, I think it's based on, like, car was...
Yeah, but why would he be telling
anyone
that?
They were like...
Although, I mean, I guess at that point, like, it's been... Like, he could have heard
It's been about an hour.
Yeah. He may not. Okay.
Quentin does not interact with this man and does not find out about Jessica until later. When he does find out about Jessica, he deletes all of their texts and calls and her contact information from his phone. When police ask why he would do that, he said that she wasn't around anymore for him to talk to.
She still was, actually, for a little bit.
Yeah, at that time, she had not died yet. At 9, which is suspicious, actually.
Mm-hmm.
At 9:53
That's why Adnan Syed didn't call him and Lee anymore. Just saying. Whatever. Hot take.
At 9:53 p.m., Chiquita gets the money from the green dot card from Quentin.
Jeez. A bit of a delay, buddy.
Good for you, Chiquita.
I guess. Run!
That's the end of the timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
Yes, I have to work through things. At 7:30, her phone starts traveling west.
Mm-hmm.
At 7:26, a car goes into his driveway. Although, kind of proof that it's only 2 to 3 minutes from this location to his driveway. So I guess they could have pulled in at 7:26, then at 7:30 started heading.
Yeah, because they would have been at Taco Bell. And then she would have, like, taken him home, dropped him off, and then
headed back.
Pulled out.
Then at 7:42 or 7:48 or something is when he texts her the Bay thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then 7:52 is when he pulls into the shed. So, like, he texted...
When someone pulls into the shed. A car.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls into the shed, you mean?
So, allegedly, hypothetically, he would have texted her that to make it seem like he was leaving her or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled into the shed, got his giant container of gasoline, and drove back. Okay. At 8. How many pounds did you say this gasoline was?
5 gallons.
Can he pick that up? Or can he put it into a different container?
I don't know.
Okay. He had 8 minutes to do so he could have poured it into a smaller container. Okay, I'm ready. I'm good.
Okay.
Stupid! What the fuck,
The
dude?
defense also has questions.
Why are you throwing away... telling them about the gasoline? You get rid of the gasoline!
So, the defense team pushes back that in an area like Courtland, cell phone data isn't always perfect or even reliable.
Okay.
They also argue that the car seen leaving Quentin's house on surveillance cannot be 100% linked to Jessica or Quentin's sister because the tag in the car cannot be determined. All that's visible is the headlights.
Because it's nighttime.
Right.
In December.
Yes.
Got it.
When all of the evidence had been submitted for the trial, the jury deliberated. When they came back, the judge went through the normal motions of asking the foreperson to read the unanimous verdict, and one juror was shaking his head. The judge asked him what he was thinking, and he admitted that the verdict was not unanimous. He said, because I didn't think he was innocent. The judge then had to explain that verdicts must be unanimous to be issued. Which also, like, what a fucking horrible way to find out that they were gonna find him not guilty.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
After 30 more minutes of deliberations, the jury came back with a unanimous decision and announced that they found Quentin Therese not guilty.
How? How did this guy change his mind in 30 minutes?
Well, another juror speaks up and said that she had also voted that he was guilty.
So what? They're just ignoring them and saying, like, we're gonna go give this anyway?
They're not understanding the rules.
Okay.
After another hour, they came back and announced, like, the judge is, like, rereading them the rules. Like, he's like, Jesus Christ.
Do not come back here.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
They came back and announced they could not reach a unanimous decision and a mistrial was declared.
We knew that from the first
Jessica's
two
mom,
times.
Yeah.
Understood.
Like, the first time y'all came back and said that, they should have been like, okay.
Yeah. This is a mistrial.
A mistrial.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica's mom later said she would rather them have found him not guilty than declare a mistrial.
Okay.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do, like, understand a lot of people choose not to even, like, pursue a second trial because of money and time and, like, the emotions you go through. But, like, I would have to think if you feel certain that this is the one person... I don't know. Normally that's in cases like David Parker Ray where he's, like, going to prison anyway. Just maybe not for your case, you know? So you choose not. But it's like, this man is literally either going to be free or not free. Like, I would think it's worth it. But, okay.
Yeah. During the retrial, the prosecution called a burn expert to testify, and he points out that at the degree that Jessica was burned, she would not have been able to get enough air into her lungs to speak clearly. Which I think maybe lends itself to your whisper versus not whisper theory.
Maybe, yeah.
They also brought out autopsy photos that showed bruising on Jessica's torso that could not have been caused by burning.
Okay.
Jessica's parents had to keep their heads down the entire time this testimony was taking place to avoid seeing the photos.
Was there any, like, strangulation signs? Okay.
Just the bruising around her torso. Okay. It was but it was, I think, kind of a lot.
Okay.
While the retrial was taking place, the judge had to make a difficult decision on whether or not to allow Quentin to travel back to Louisiana. And ultimately, he had to let him go because Quentin was under investigation for another brutal murder of another young woman.
This time in Louisiana?
Yes.
Okay.
The body of 34-year-old Taiwanese graduate student Ming Chen Shu, who went by Mandy, was found in her apartment after a neighbor reported a lack of activity from her home, and her landlord became concerned about a smell in the area.
That's nice, though, that they notice enough to say, like, she's not around or doing anything, you know?
Yeah. It's believed she was there for 10 days before she was discovered.
So a large lack of activity.
Yeah.
Okay.
It took me a little while to be like, wait a second.
Someone might need to leave to eat eventually.
Yeah. She had been cut and stabbed more than 30 times. Neighbors of Mandy's claimed to have seen Quentin Telles going to and from Mandy's apartment several times in the days leading up to her murder, and some even claimed to hear them arguing loudly. The day before she was likely killed, she is seen on Walmart video surveillance with Quentin Telles.
Boy, start looking for cameras.
I was like, wow, like I love how many cameras there are in this case, but like, what the fuck, dude?
Look up.
Pay attention. He claims that they were picking up Mandy's prescription for Lortab and that Quentin bought it from her afterwards.
He's so helpful with the medicines.
Why are you telling everybody these things?
Do we think that's what he was getting medicine for Jessica with?
I did wonder that after I heard this part. Police believe Mandy was killed inside her apartment sometime between 5:22 p.m. and 8:16 p.m. on July 29th, 2015. At 8:16 p.m., 2 calls went out from Mandy's phone to Chase Bank, but the caller hung up immediately with both calls. Then, within 2 minutes of the calls from Mandy's phone, 2 calls were placed from Quentin's phone to Chase Bank, and this time the caller was able to give Mandy's debit card number and her PIN number. During this time, Quentin's phone was pinging within about 60 yards of Mandy's apartment. So he was either in or around the apartment. A neighbor of Quentin's fiance's mother would later claim that on July 30th, Quentin asked her to take, quote, a blue Chase debit card with a Chinese name on it to an ATM and withdraw $2,000.
I wonder why he called from his phone. Like, do you think he claimed to, like, be her, like, partner?
I don't know.
Like, I'm her husband, and I just... Weird.
She took the card to an ATM but decided not to use it. However, on August 1st, someone in Vicksburg, Mississippi made a $400 withdrawal with the card. Beginning on August 17th, ATM footage in Monroe, Louisiana showed Quentin making withdrawals 3 days in a row. When asked about this, Quentin claimed to get the card from a drug dealer named Jay, and then changed his story to say that he got it from a, quote, crackhead named Kenny.
Okay.
Quentin's cousin-in-law, Eric Hill, told police that he was giving a tattoo to a man named Curtis Lemons when he confessed to killing a Chinese girl by ULM, and Eric knew Quentin had gotten caught up in the situation by using her debit card.
Eric! What are you doing? They're looking for you!
Eric Hill went on to to identify Curtis Lemons in a lineup, which, obviously, because he was giving him a tattoo.
Yeah.
We already know he knows what he looks like.
Yeah.
But when shown a photo lineup with Quentin in it, he claimed he had never seen him before.
So he just said, I don't know anyone in this lineup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Police reminded him that in a previous interview, he admitted that not only was Quentin his cousin by marriage, but that the two of them hung out on a regular basis.
He said,
they were like, excuse me.
That old thing, yeah.
So Eric Hill then told investigators that he had lied and implicated Lemons in the murder because he was angry with him, and that in fact, Quentin was the one who had given him details about the murder near ULM. The fraud charges Quentin was serving 10 years for when police initially interviewed him about Jessica's murder were for the use of Mandy's debit card.
Ah, interesting.
Quentin Therese has pled not guilty to the murder of Mandy Hsiao. The trial has been postponed several times, and at the time of this recording, Quentin Therese still has not been found guilty of Mandy's murder. The Ouachita Parish in Louisiana sent Quentin back to Mississippi to be tried again, and in 2019, another mistrial was declared. Now, Courtland, Mississippi has to wait to see what happens with the trial in Monroe, Louisiana, before they can move forward with trying Quentin Therese again for Jessica's murder.
I just want to know what the hang-up is. Like, is it just the Eric thing? Like,
I think they just, like, think there's not, there's no, like, physical evidence. I guess,
but it's like, that's what fires do, so let's not reward him for being slightly intelligent in that way. Like, he's got the means.
I think some people take reasonable doubt too seriously.
Okay, I heard something the other day. This guy, I was watching some documentary, and the guy said, if you walk outside, it was the Murdoch, the new season of the Murdoch stuff. He said, if you walk outside and there's snow on the ground, that is circumstantial evidence that it snowed last night. So, you didn't see it snow. You don't have physical evidence that the snow came down, but you know, without a reasonable doubt, that it snowed last night. So people think that, like, circumstantial evidence is, like, not enough, and that, like, without DNA or whatever, that, like, it's not enough. But it's like, it perfectly lines up with his movement for that night. He has the means, the means, the gasoline, the motive, and, like, the exact opposite of an alibi. I don't know what that means, but it's exactly where he would need to be to commit the murder.
Right.
Whatever.
It's not. Quentin Therese is currently serving a burglary sentence in a Mississippi prison.
I mean, at least we can count on that.
Yeah.
He'll just keep being in prison.
I will also say, though, is that being served concurrently with his 10 years of fraud sentencing? Or was that done early? I don't know.
And then he got out and burglarized somewhere.
Right. Because how would he have burglarized somewhere if he was in jail for 10 years?
Yeah.
For now, justice has not been served for either Jessica or Mandy, and while many people believe they know exactly who killed these two women, their cases are still technically unsolved.
That's rough.
Yeah. The end. I hated that.
That was so good, though. Not good.
Thank you.
But interesting.
I think that's the most recent one I've ever done.
Yeah.
Well, and Gabriel Fernandez was pretty recent.
Yeah. Wow. Poopy.
Yeah. It's a stinker.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, the first time I heard it, I was like... And even, like, in, like, with, like, the beginning of it, I was like, I mean, I don't know, maybe he didn't do it. And then we get to, like, the timeline of, like, where his phone was pinging and stuff, and then the stuff about Mandy, and I was like...
Yeah.
Are there are still people who think he's not a murderer?
Like, I understand you can't convict him for Jessica because you know he's, like, being accused of another murder, you know? Like, You're not supposed to take that into account, but it's like, come on now.
Right.
Yeah. I honestly do wonder if the ER thing was to get, like, I wonder if he was like, they'll give payments to this little white girl. So I'm going to go in with her, and then I'll just pay her for him.
Yeah. I also, like, I don't understand how he knew Mandy.
I was going to ask, so you say he had 5 women ring in his line. He's only known Jessica for 2 weeks. He's hanging out at Mandy's for a while. Like, where's he? Do we know where he's meeting? Like, are they meeting online? Like, how is he getting these women to just hang out with him? I've seen him. He's not, like, someone that I would just be like, yes, like, I want to go hang out with that person alone, one-on-one, he's not older than Mandy, which is, like, different, but, like, as a 19-year-old, hell no. I'm not going anywhere with this strange man for 2 straight weeks.
With Mandy, though, she lived in the same place as his fiance, as Chiquita.
Yeah.
And so... maybe it's someone he met through Chiquita, or he just met, like, when he was living there. I don't know. A lot of the times I found myself through this case being like, okay, yeah, that's dumb as shit, but, like, I was dumb as shit when I was 19.
Sure, yeah.
Like, no, this man is not 19. This man is older than I am right now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And he's being a dumbass.
Yeah.
And, like, being a dumbass with 19-year-old girls, like...
Yeah. I know, I want to know where he's, like, what is so charming about him?
I know. I also, like, police said that he had a criminal history, or criminal record, but that, like, he had gotten out early from everything, and, like, they kind of noted that, like, he was... like, charming, I guess, in a way, that, like, he was able to be released early on, like, good behavior or whatever. So maybe he just has, like, some kind of, like, charm to him. But somebody who texts you 3 days in a row,
I was gonna say, horny,
he does not seem like a charmer.
Yeah, it's not like he looks young. Like, he looks fine, but he looks his age, so he looks significantly older than Jessica. And he's not, like, flirting or, like, trying to compliment you. I guess maybe with the little glasses. Like, if you were like, aw, a little nerd with a neck tattoo. How cute.
Yeah.
Also, when I typed in his name, it said wife.
So toward the end of my research, it started calling people his mother-in-law,
Yep.
his cousin-in-law.
Yep. They got married.
Yeah.
Girl. Poor girl.
Chiquita.
But it was in 2015,
Chiquita,
so it
we
was like
only-
she might not have
Yeah. Chiquita, we only want what's best for you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're currently safe because
he's in prison.
Yeah. All right. Good work.
Yeah.
I know you
Thank
were
you.
worried about that one. It turned out good.
Yeah. I did end up watching a documentary about it, which was very useful.
As usual, sources in the show
couple.
notes. Documentaries.
Yeah, there's a documentary that I watched from Investigate Discovery, and there is a docu-series from Oxygen, but it was like 7 or 8 episodes.
On just this?
Yes, and I was like, I do not have time, because this was like Wednesday when I decided I needed to stop reading articles and watch something.
That's kind of cool, but also...
Yeah. It's called like... I think it's called like Unthinkable Crime, Jessica Chambers.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will talk to you in 1 week with the beginning of our Cecil Hotel series.
Yeah. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Okay. Bye.
Bye.